All right guys, so I'm gonna run through pretty much a couple tips that I have to, if you're gonna be storing your snowboard gear all summer, how to make it last the longest, and when you come back to it, actually have it still be retaining its value and not completely diminished. So number one is wax your board, because it's just gonna get drier, and the longer you wait, the drier it's gonna get. So if you wax your board and you leave your wax on over the whole summer, that is your best bet. Also, when you're done riding, you don't want to leave water on the edges of your board, because that's how it rusts, and then you're going to come back to a rusty edged board come November when it starts snowing. So make sure that you dry your whole board, there's no water on it anywhere, and I like to wax the entire thing and just leave it. When you come back in November or so, I would even heat it up again and then hot scrape it, wax it again with whatever temperature that it's gonna be, so that way you know that your wax is set up for that temperature. But if you know the first time that you're gonna be riding your board again, where it's gonna be or what temp it is, then you can just do that wax, or you can do an all temp and just deal with it. I did a hot wax myself because the next time we're gonna be riding is mid-June, week 1 and 2 of Woodward at Tahoe, which is gonna be so sick, and I hope you guys are coming, and I hope if you are, you're using that promo code and you're getting like $300 or $400 off, because that's gonna be super sick. It's Snowboarder Mag Week and it's Shredbots Week, so come shred, Woodward Tahoe. You also seen that I took my bindings off. Not only is it better to wax your snowboard with your bindings off, when you have your screws tightly screwed in with your bindings, the bottom of your board has little dimples that get sucked in, so that's why you have a problem waxing if you can't get a flat surface when you have your bindings strapped in. So I always take my bindings off when I wax, but it's also very crucial to take them off if you're gonna have your board chilling in your bag all summer long, because it's just gonna warp your board and it's gonna mold it that way. Which leads me to also say that you saw I put my binding the way that I want it to be the most comfortable. So you want your binding strap usually to be like this when it's on your foot. So I would strap my bindings in that position so that when you come back and you put your foot in your boot and you put your boot in the binding, it's gonna be the exact way, because they're gonna morph. If things are gonna be chilling for 7 or 8 months, it's gonna stay that way. So put it all together in the way that you want it to stay the best. And then huge tip is put your screws and your base plates in a bag and put them somewhere. Even like tape them to the front of the board or something, but just, you don't want to leave your screws or your plates anywhere near there. Some of the bindings have the screw that goes into the bottom. I would even screw that one in, but make sure none of them are wet, once again, because you don't want them to rust, and then keep them in a bag, keep them with your bindings, keep all that stuff stored somewhere. As for storage, I don't really know much about that. I would say just keep it somewhere where it's not going to be getting thrown around, so that in the middle of the summer when people are playing hockey in the basement or something, it doesn't fall and get dinged on the workout bench. If you have a classic house like everybody else, put it maybe in your snowboard bag, wrap it in a dry towel or something to keep it safe, and then put your bindings as well, probably in the box or in an area where you know they're not going to be getting stepped on or thrown around. As for the rest of your gear, I would take the inner lining to your boots, depending on how wet they were, out of your actual shell, and I would hang dry them in the sun for literally a full day or 2, depending on how wet they were. And then same thing with your gloves, with all your long johns, with all your gear, whatever you have that's slightly wet, wash it, dry it, and then put it in the sun if you can't dry it. Make sure it's so dry, because mold and that weird basement smell is the worst thing when you come back to. So not only would I dry the boots and then store them proper, I would also make sure that I tied the boot exactly how I wanted it to be when it's on my foot, because once again, that shape is going to stay that way. So when you go to grab your boots next fall, they're going to be pretty hard because they haven't been being used in about 6 or 8 months. So when you do go back to them, you want them to at least be the shape that is your foot, so you don't be having cramps or weird things, and then you come back and your boot's all twisted at an angle and you put it on your foot and you have a crazy pressure point down by your ankle. You just don't want anything to do with that. So tie your boot and all your bindings and all that stuff, make sure it's all dry and shaped the way that you want it to be on your setup. And then if you got a duffel bag or something, maybe a suitcase, and all your stuff is for sure dry and clean, you can fold it up however really you want, close that thing, and then zip it up. And I honestly would open it up every month, maybe even shake it out a little bit, maybe wash it if you want to, but if you do it properly, it's not going to get that weird smell and everything. And hopefully none of you guys are going to be doing this, because we should all be snowboarding all summer. You can go to Mount Hood, you can go to South America, you can go to Perisher in Australia, you can go, there's got to be glaciers all over the place. I'm pretty sure you can snowboard in Washington all year. Isn't there little chutes in Maine and stuff like that? Mount Hood for sure, Woodward at Copper, Woodward at Boreal. There are just so many ways to snowboard all summer. Lax, am I forgetting the Swiss Alps and Austria and all these glaciers and stuff? Indoor parks, you can go to the Netherlands, find a way to snowboard. I'm gonna shut this thing down for the day. One last thing I want to say though about the storing your snowboard thing that I forgot completely is you should probably file your edges down or take care of the burrs with a gummy stone, whatever you do to your edges normally, so that when you come back to your snowboard, it's in the exact shape that you want it to be and you can just start your season riding and you don't have to actually tune it up.